Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay, and so in this video I'm going to talk about some reasons why I really truly believe you should grab the G7 and some reasons why you probably shouldn't. Now recently I'm going to start with the not so good first. It's something to consider. Now recently I shattered this phone. You guys have seen all the photos. I talked about it in another video. The phone is super fragile. The build quality is not up to par. Now, before you jump out there and say, yo, Jay, glass phones break real easy, that is not entirely true, because I've dropped plenty of phones that are glass and they did not break and they didn't have a case on them. And this phone only fell from about 2 to 3 feet. Now, when you consider how close that is to the ground, it just happened to hit at the right spot, and it only shot at the back. As you can see, the front is good, the sides are good. I have it in this case because I don't have a skin yet, but I say, comparing it to other phones that I've dropped that are glass, it's fragile. You know, it broke way too easy, and you know, it was my fault that it broke. I pulled my hands out of my pocket too quick, and you know, I don't like to wear a case all the time, especially not in the house, and it fell and it just shattered on the back. So build quality definitely could use some improvement, man. That's just my personal opinion. Something you might want to consider. I'm not saying this is a reason not to buy the phone. I'm just saying this is something you might want to consider. Another thing along the lines of the build quality is the slipperiness of this phone. If you don't have it in some kind of protection, or you don't have a case that's grippy, something, it is slippery, which is the reason that it slipped out of my pocket and out of my hand so easily. Slippery. It's a slippery phone. And that's just nothing else I can say about that. It's going to need some grip on it some kind of way. Now, another thing is no front-facing speaker again. Like, I used to like having that one speaker coming from the front. Believe it or not, I got used to that. And even though it wasn't the most powerful speaker, it was a speaker that was good and loud, man. It really put in work, and I was excited about it. And I liked having it facing me. So this is kind of a pro and a con, because I've got some good things to say about this speaker, but I'll save that for a little bit later. But the speaker is not facing us anymore, and it's on the bottom. And you can easily cover up the speaker, or you can cup your hand and make the sound come back to you. Nonetheless, it would have been nice if they would have kept that, but I understand if they felt like they had to get rid of it. They put this huge part up here, and that's what they decided to do. So now what I want to say about that, another thing is kind of a negative, if you will, a con, if you will, a dislike, if you will. The design is old, man. Now, the back of this phone is pretty cool, but it's something that we've seen before from Motorola, right? You see the face right there? See him winking at you like one eye's bigger than the other, and you get it. Now, the great part about it is that they put the fingerprint in the design back there in the Moto logo. However, when you turn this around, how many times have you seen this design? Like a gazillion. And then a lot of people are pretty much complaining that it's huge up there. But that's subjective, whether or not you think that's good or not. I'll leave that up to you. You can battle it out in the comments. You know? So those are a few things that I pulled out of this, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, and I was really pulling teeth, honestly, you know, because let's switch over to some good things. I really enjoy this phone. Now, the first thing is, once again, the speaker. The speaker may be bottom firing, but it is decently loud, man. So I'll jump from that and then I'll jump to the screen. So here's a speaker on it. About it that I wanted to talk about in this video. I'm gonna point out 10 things, good or bad, great, not so great. Now on video that probably doesn't sound too loud, but in person it is definitely loud enough. Now, the speaker, like I said, pro and con. It's not facing you, but it is loud. It is loud enough for my ears. I think it sounds great. Now, another good thing is the screen. I personally like this screen, man. I think it's really clear. I think it's a good look, man. It's a really nice IPS display. The colors are extremely punchy. I know on video you probably can't tell too well, but they did a great job with this screen, man. I disagree with, you know, the design, like I said, but the screen is absolutely beautiful. It's a 1080p by 2270, and it is absolutely great, man. I think they did their thing with this, man. They really went to work. So another thing that they got right with this phone, and they've got a lot of things right, man. I can get into all the Moto gestures and all those things. I'm just kind of covering some high points on. This is a real high level to touch bases with you guys. Another thing besides the screen is the performance, man. The performance on this thing is fantastic. This is a 4 gig of RAM phone, and you consider the price point. 4 gigs of RAM is what some phones have in it that cost 3 or 4 times the cost of this, and they're considered flagships. So you think about that. This has 4 gigs of RAM, and the performance on it is, it doesn't hold back, man. I got things in memory. Everything loads fast. Another thing is, leaning on performance, is the processor. Now this has a Snapdragon 632, and the Snapdragon 632 coupled with that 4 gigs of RAM really gives this thing some processing power, and it's a great performer. That's just hands down, it is one of the snappiest and most smooth stock Android phones that I can use. It's really good. It's really that good, man. So that's something that I think Motorola has really done a good job with. Lenovo / Motorola, whatever, man, whatever. That says Motorola right there. I guess, man. But all I can tell you is that the 4 gigs of RAM coupled with the processor gives this thing fantastic performance. It's really good. Now, another area is the battery life. Now, the battery life on this thing now the battery is always subjective, and battery is always dependent on the user, what apps you're running, how you're using your phone. All these things play a part in battery. So let's not get hung up too much and caught up too much on battery. This is my experience with the battery. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So battery life for me, it's been pretty decent. I don't run a lot of apps on my phones. I keep the basics of what I'm using, and they all work fantastic. They work fast. Everything's always good on here. I really appreciate it. I like the way this phone performs, and for day-to-day tasks, social media is what I predominantly use this for a lot of. It is actually really fast, and I can appreciate everything that this phone is doing for me when it comes to that, man. It's really good. The battery life is solid. Easily can get 5.5 to 6.5 hours screen on time and make it through a full day. Now, one other area where this phone shines dramatically over some others in its price range, and let's just look at some of the features here. Look at all the features. I can go YouTube live right from this front camera, man, and I really enjoy that. I shot a video, a live stream. I hadn't been live in about 5-6 months, and I saw this feature, and I went live for over an hour. The phone didn't overheat. The battery didn't drain fast. It's a good experience. The front camera is good. Everything was good about it. And you look at all these modes and things. Top end, I had to pause so you can see. Top end phones, so-called top end phones, have these features, man. So let's get into video here. You can do on the front camera, you can do 1080p or 720p. And on the rear here, let me go. Oh, here we go. It's up here. You can go all the way to 4K. And that's really solid when you consider the price point. Some people like 4K. Some people don't like 4K. But having 1080p at 60 FPS, 30 frames per second, 720p, you got them all, man. 4K on this phone has actually been pretty good. I shot a lot of footage with this phone, man. And I was really impressed with it to the point where I was like, you know what? This is a win-win. This phone is a champ. Only thing that happened to me, I can't, I'm still using the phone though, with no hesitation. This phone is boss, is staying in rotation, and I will use this like this indefinitely. I found the back on eBay for $7.88, $3 shipping. I already have a repair kit. I'm thinking about doing it, but honestly, man, I'm not even in a hurry. As long as it's covered up and I'm not cutting myself, I'm perfectly fine with it. So the Moto G7 is definitely one of my daily drivers, and is such a great phone. I would really recommend that reviewers who normally don't review phones that are under 300 bucks, or just they don't like. Let me see, who do I rock with that? You know what? The first person that comes to mind is technically T. I don't see him buy a lot of phones. He buys a lot of high-end phones, expensive phones, but I think they just sent him the new Moto G3, and that's cool. But T, I think if you were to get this phone, you will like it better than the new Moto G3. It's a design that you already know, that we both know, you know what I'm saying? So, not trying to call you out, but I rock with T, you know what I'm saying? So I think he's a good reviewer. And, I think, he doesn't get sent a lot of review units like some people do, and I don't even get a lot of review units, so I have to go and buy them, and I know he knows about that. So T, if you want a nice performing Android phone that's solid, make sure you get a case with it immediately, but other than that, this is a hot buy right here, man. I think the Moto G7 is probably one of the best purchases that a person can pick up right now. As of right now, we're in March of 2018. Oh Lord, March of 2019. And this is a hot buy right here, man. This is a phone that I think you will really enjoy if you take time to check it out. So it's your man Jay. If you have the G7, what do you think about it? If you have the G7 Plus, some of you guys are gonna say, "Oh, the G7 Plus is better, has stereo speakers, and da da da." Okay, listen, I didn't want to get that. I got this phone for $250. That's a killer deal. The G7 Plus is like $380, and to me, that is not worth it, because then you're leaning over into phones that are much better than this phone, getting closer. I mean, that's all I gotta do. And I can hold up some other phones too, but there's too many phones that are $400 that I feel like that's pushing it a little too close to it. So it's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoy, man. I'll see you in the next video. Leave a comment down below. Let's battle it out in the comments. Let's do it.